You have been taught a lie about the cross, a comfortable story that has left you in bondage. You look to an event in ancient history, to a man carrying a wooden beam, and you believe that is the full meaning of the cross, and in doing so, you have completely missed its power. You have worshipped the symbol and missed the reality, and that is why your life remains unchanged. I want to take you beyond the symbol, beyond the history, into the living truth of this moment. The cross is not a memory, it is a present, active principle of your own awakening. It is the point within you where the horizontal line of your human experience, with all its trials and tribulations, is intersected by the vertical, descending light of the Christ, the I Am, and is utterly transformed. This is not about a man who died, but about the you that must die. It is about the crucifixion of your sense of separation, the complete and final surrender of the belief that you are a selfhood living apart from God. When you truly understand this, something shatters within your consciousness. The veil is torn not in a temple in Jerusalem, but in your own mind, and you will know what it means to be reborn, not as a better human, but as a divine idea expressing its own heaven. What you are about to hear will require everything of you. It is not for the curious, but for the committed. It is for those who are ready to move from the outer court of symbols into the Holy of Holies within their own soul. If you are ready to undertake this sacred journey, then I invite you to become a part of this living congregation of truth seekers. Consecrate your intention by subscribing to this channel, that this light may continue to find you. And if your heart recognizes the truth of this call, mark this moment by commenting with the number 7, the symbol of completion and spiritual fulfillment, as a sign that you are ready to move beyond the symbol into the substance. For too long, the mind has been conditioned to look outward to a hill far away, to a spectacle of suffering that occurred centuries in the past. We have been taught to worship this image, to venerate the story, and in doing so, we have committed a profound error. We have located power outside of ourselves. We have made it a historical memorial, and in that very act, we have rendered it powerless to affect any real change in our lives today. We look upon it with a sentimental reverence, but our inner world remains untouched, our burdens unlifted, our sense of lack and fear still very much present. This is the great deception, the comfortable lie that keeps you asleep. The truth is that the cross is not a relic to be remembered. It is a catalytic, spiritual activity to be experienced within your own consciousness at this very moment. Think of it not as a piece of wood, but as the living architecture of your own awakening. The horizontal beam represents the entirety of your human life, your personal history, your relationships, your career, your successes and your crushing failures, your health, your finances, all the circumstances that make up the flat plane of your earthly existence. This is the level where problems seem absolute, where lack appears real, where fear dictates your reactions, and where you believe you are at the mercy of a world you never made. You are living on this horizontal line, trudging from one end to the other, trying to fix one problem only to encounter another. This is the life of the personal sense that feels separate, vulnerable, and alone. Now, imagine a vertical line descending from a height beyond your comprehension, piercing directly through the very center of that horizontal human experience. This vertical line is the Christ, the I Am, the unbroken current of divine consciousness. It is not a man. It is the incorruptible substance of God, the radiant light of pure spirit. It does not come from the past. It descends from the eternal now, from the realm of the absolute into the realm of the relative. The point where this descending vertical light intersects your horizontal human life is the true cross. It is the meeting place. It is the point of transmutation where God meets man, where the human scene is confronted by divine power. This is not a gentle blending. It is a cosmic collision. When the vertical truth of your divine sonship pierces the horizontal belief that you are a limited mortal, a crucifixion occurs. The light does not come to improve your human situation. It comes to annihilate the very foundation upon which that situation is built, the foundation of separation. Your cherished opinions, your deep-seated resentments, your ingrained fears, your entire sense of a personal I that is running its own life apart from God. All of this is exposed to a light so pure it cannot survive the encounter. This is the true meaning of the crucifixion. It is the sudden, shocking realization that everything you thought you were, the proud one, the hurt one, the afraid one, the lacking one, is a phantom, a construct of a mind living in separation. The cross is the instrument upon which this illusory self is nailed, not with iron, but with the piercing truth of I Am. You see this activity every day, though you may not recognize it. It appears in that moment of a profound personal failure, when the story you have told yourself about your own capability is shattered. In that crushing disappointment, if you are still, you may feel a strange, new presence, a peace that does not come from any external consolation. That is the cross. It appears when a beloved relationship ends, and the identity you derived from it is torn away, leaving a void that feels like death. And in that void, if you do not rush to fill it, you may discover a strength and a love you never knew you possessed. A love that was not dependent on another person. That is the cross. It is active in a sudden financial reversal that obliterates your sense of security, forcing you to find a security that is not of this world. The human circumstance, the horizontal line, is being intersected by the vertical, and the old you is being crucified to make way for the realization of the I Am that you have always been. This crucifixion of the sense of separation is not a single, cataclysmic event that concludes your spiritual journey. It is the continuous, moment by moment activity of grace that constitutes the journey itself. To believe in separation is to accept as real a fundamental lie about your own being. It is the root assumption that you are a self-contained entity, a solitary mind housed in a body, navigating a world that is other than you and and serving a God who is remote and external. This core misconception is the great burden, the weight that bends the horizontal beam of your human experience. It is the author of every fear, the source of every conflict, and the engine of every longing. Your entire life, with all its struggles, is merely the symptom of this one. Deeply embedded disease of perception, the belief that you are apart from the source of your own being. This sense of a separate self is not a passive observer. It is a voracious activity. It is the I that feels offended, the me, that is afraid of the future, the mine, that clings to possessions and relationships for its identity. It is the voice that constantly compares, judges, and feels either superior or inferior to others. It is the one that takes credit for success and shame for failure. This self is a constellation of reactions, memories, and conditioned responses, and it lives and breathes only in the atmosphere of duality. The belief in good and evil, in lack and abundance, as powers in and of themselves. This is the self that must be crucified, not because it is sinful, but because it is illusory. It is a shadow cast by the light of consciousness, mistaken for the substance. You can witness this sense of separation asserting itself in the most mundane moments of your day. When you are sitting in traffic and a feeling of impatient anger rises because the world is not conforming to your personal schedule, that is the sense of separation in action. It is the I against them. When you receive criticism at work and a wave of defensiveness and hurt pride washes over you, that is the sense of separation feeling attacked and seeking to defend its fragile territory. When you lie awake at night, anxiously calculating your finances, you are in the grip of the separate self that believes it is the sole source of its own supply and security. Every resentment you nurse, every jealousy you entertain, every fear about your health or your relationships is a direct manifestation of this foundational belief that you are a solitary island in a hostile sea. The work, then, is not to improve this separate self, to make it more spiritual, more loving, or more successful. That is merely polishing the shadow. The true work is to consent to its crucifixion by the descending light of truth. This is where the teaching moves from theory to practice. It requires a profound and often unsettling shift in attention. Instead of engaging with the content of the problem, the offense, the fear, the lack, you are invited to turn your gaze inward to the one who is feeling offended, afraid, or lacking. You look directly at the sense of separation itself. You do not analyze it or fight it. You simply behold it, and in that beholding, you bring it to the cross. You expose this feeling of isolated I to the conscious awareness of the I am that you are. This is the sacred internal ritual. In the midst of a conflict, instead of formulating your rebuttal, you become still. You acknowledge the rising anger or hurt, the horizontal experience. And then you consciously open yourself to the vertical descent of a peace that transcends understanding. You are not asking God to change the other person or to fix the situation for your benefit. you are surrendering the very one who is experiencing the problem. You are allowing the reactive, separate self to be nailed to the cross, to be stilled and silenced by a presence greater than its drama. As this occurs, something miraculous begins to happen. The tight knot of selfhood loosens. The personal reaction, deprived of the energy of your belief, begins to dissolve. What remains is not a void, but a vast, intelligent, and compassionate presence. This presence is what you truly are, and it now operates in the situation without the filter of a separate ego. It speaks the word that needs to be spoken. It takes the action that needs to be taken, but it does so from a foundation of wholeness, not from a reaction of woundedness. The problem on the horizontal line may or may not change its form, but its power to disturb your peace, its power to define you, is crucified. You are free, not because the world has conformed to your will, but because that needed the world to conform has been surrendered. This intersection is not a passive point on a map, but a dynamic and transformative event within consciousness. It is the precise moment where the raw, unadulterated truth of spirit makes contact with the human belief of life, lived in separation. The horizontal line is your entire world of effects. The sickness, the financial worry, the broken relationship, the anxiety about the future. It is everything that appears to the physical senses and the reasoning mind as solid, real, and overpowering. The vertical line is the silent, potent truth of being, the I am, which knows no opposite, acknowledges no power outside of itself, and forever exists in a state of pristine wholeness. When these two meet, it is not a negotiation, it is a divine confrontation. The human scene, with all its apparent solidity, is revealed to be insubstantial, a shadow cast by a misperception when the light of reality shines upon it. You can feel this intersection as a tangible shift in your awareness. It is that sudden stillness that descends in the midst of chaos, a quiet so profound it seems to swallow the noise. It is the inexplicable peace that arrives not after the storm, but while the storm is still raging. This is not a peace you create. It is a peace that descends vertically, piercing through the horizontal turmoil. Imagine you are in a heated argument. The horizontal plane is filled with shouting, hurtful words, and a torrent of emotional pain. You are fully engaged in the conflict, your entire being vibrating with the need to be right, to defend, to attack. Then, in a flash of grace, something shifts. It is as if a switch is thrown in the depths of your soul. You are suddenly aware of the anger, but you are no longer of the anger. You are witnessing it. A vast, silent intelligence has entered the room of your mind, and it is observing the entire drama without being swept away by it. This is the vertical light intersecting the horizontal conflict. The problem has not been solved, the words have not been retracted, but the power has been drained from it because the you that was being threatened is now seen from the perspective of the I am that cannot be threatened. This divine activity is occurring constantly, pressing against the edges of your human experience, waiting for your recognition. It is present in the moment a diagnosis is given. The horizontal reality is one of fear, statistics, and a terrifying future narrative. But in that very same moment, there is an opportunity for the vertical truth to pierce through. It may come as a sudden, unbidden wave of acceptance, a knowing that transcends the medical report, a feeling of a fundamental, unassailable identity that is not sick, not well, but simply is. This is not denial. It is a perception of a higher reality. The horizontal fact of the body is being intersected by the vertical truth of your incorruptible being. The same principle applies to lack. The horizontal evidence is clear. Your bank account is low, bills are due, opportunities seem scarce. The mind, living on this horizontal plane, cycles through strategies, worries, and despair. Then, perhaps in a moment of exhausted surrender, you stop. You cease the mental calculations. And in that stillness, a different kind of knowing arises. It is a sense of infinite substance, of a source that is not dependent on the world's economies. It is the recognition that what you are is itself abundance, and that your good is not something you get, but something you express from your true nature. This vertical truth does not magically materialize a stack of cash in your hand, though it may open unexpected channels. Its primary action is to crucify the belief in lack itself, to shatter the illusion of a separate self that could ever be cut off from its own supply. The intersection is where the human problem is not solved on its own terms, but is instead dissolved by the revelation of a higher order of reality. Your work is to consciously bring your awareness to this meeting point, to consent to this sacred collision, and to allow the light of the I AM to transmute the lead of your human experience into the gold of spiritual understanding. This end of the you that must die is the most profound and liberating event that can take place in human consciousness. It is not the death of your essential being, but the dissolution of the false sense of self that has masqueraded as you for a lifetime. This false self is the accumulator, the storyteller, the one who carries the scars of the past and the anxieties for the future. It is the persona that was constructed from the cradle onward through conditioning, trauma, societal expectations, and the ceaseless activity of a mind that believes it is separate from God. This is the you that feels it has been wronged, the you that seeks validation, but you that is perpetually preparing for disaster or clinging to a fleeting moment of happiness. Its entire existence is predicated on the horizontal plane of experience. It has no reality in the vertical light of I AM. When the cross does its work, this is the identity that is surrendered. This is not a physical death, but a death of an idea. It is the crumbling of a foundational misconception. Imagine you have lived your entire life in a room, believing the walls to be the ultimate boundary of your existence. You have decorated them. You have cursed them when you felt confined. You have spent all your energy navigating this limited space. Then, one day, a crack appears, and through it, you see not another room, but infinite open sky. The realization dawns that you were never truly the occupant of the room. You were the sky itself, merely entertaining the idea of being enclosed. The end of the you that must die is the collapse of those walls. The room, the personal sense of self with all its history and limitations, is revealed as the illusion it always was. The sky, the infinite I am, was your true identity all along. You experience minor, preparatory versions of this death every day. Consider a cherished ambition you have held for years, one that defined your sense of purpose and direction. Then, through a twist of fate, it is irrevocably taken from you. The initial experience is one of crushing loss, a feeling that a part of you has died. And indeed, it has. The you that was the future CEO, the famous artist, the parent of a certain kind of family, that you has met its end. After the period of grief, if you are attentive, you may notice a strange new freedom. You are no longer burdened by the weight of that specific expectation. Your identity is no longer tied to that particular outcome. A space has been cleared, and into that space, a new sense of direction, one not born of personal ambition, but of a deeper, more intuitive guidance, can begin to flow. This is a taste of the crucifixion. A more immediate example is the death of a grudge. The you that was wounded, that held the memory of the injustice, that nurtured the resentment, is a very strong and active identity. It defines your relationship with another person and colors your world with bitterness. To forgive in the spiritual sense is not to condone the action. It is to consent to the crucifixion of the you that was hurt. It is to allow that entire story with its victim and its villain to be nailed to the cross and exposed as a phantom of the mind living in separation. When this occurs, the person you resented may still exist, but the power they held over your inner peace is gone. The you that was their prisoner has died, and what remains is a consciousness that is free, unburdened, and capable of a love that is not personal but universal. This death is the gateway to real life. It is the end of the struggle, for the one who was struggling is no more. What functions now is not a repaired personal ego, but the very mind of Christ, the I am, expressing itself uniquely as your individual experience, but without the weight of a separate self to maintain or defend. This is the resurrection that naturally follows the crucifixion, not the resuscitation of the old you, but the emergence of the one you have always been in God. This tearing of the veil in individual consciousness is the inevitable and glorious consequence of this inner crucifixion. In the ancient temple, the veil was a heavy curtain that separated the Holy of Holies, the dwelling place of God, from the outer court where humanity resided. It represented the ultimate division, the unbridgeable gap between the human and the divine. The moment of the crucifixion in the gospel narrative is marked by this veil being torn from top to bottom, a powerful symbol not of an architectural event, but of a cosmological shift. That which was separate has been made one. The barrier is not merely opened, it is obliterated. This is the truth you are now prepared to realize within yourself. The veil is not linen and thread, It is the fabric of your own unexamined beliefs, the accumulated mental structures that have convinced you of your isolation from God. This veil is woven from the threads of your personal sense of life. It is the belief that you are born into a material universe and must find your way to a distant God through prescribed rituals, correct doctrines, or accumulated spiritual merits. It is the conviction that your mistakes have created a permanent record that separates you from grace, that your thoughts are private, and that your prayers are messages sent out into a silent void, hoping for an answer. This veil is the entire apparatus of the carnal mind, which interprets everything through the lens of duality and separation. It is what makes heaven seem like a far-off destination rather than your present native state. When the work of the cross is fulfilled within you, when the sense of a separate self is surrendered, this veil does not slowly part. It is ripped in two by an unseen hand from top to bottom, signifying that the action is initiated from above, from the vertical dimension of spirit, and not from any human effort below. You will know this event not as a theological concept, but as a shocking and immediate intimacy. It is the sudden, undeniable realization that there is no barrier between you and the Father. The prayer you have been speaking for years ceases to be a monologue and becomes a dialogue, or more accurately, a communion. You are no longer a subject petitioning a king. You are the Son abiding in the Father's house, consciously aware of the divine presence as the very substance of your own being. The seeking comes to an end, not because you have found an object, but because you realize you are that which you sought. The sense of a private, isolated mind vanishes, and in its place is the flowing, universal consciousness of the I Am, thinking your thoughts, living your life, being your being. You can witness the thinning of this veil in your own experience. There are moments, perhaps in deep contemplation or in the face of immense natural beauty, when the sense of a separate I simply drops away. For a breathtaking instant, there is no you and the mountain. There is only the mountain. There is no you and the music. There is only the symphony. In that moment, the veil is gone. You are not observing beauty. You are one with it. This is a glimpse of the torn veil, where the observer and the observed are revealed as one. Similarly, in a moment of genuine, selfless compassion, when you are moved to help another without a single thought for your own benefit, the veil becomes transparent. The illusion of separate interests is suspended, and you act from a unity that transcends the two physical forms involved. The ultimate tearing, however, is far more profound. It is the permanent abiding in the knowledge that the room you thought was the entire world was merely an illusion projected upon the infinite canvas of your true self. The Holy of Holies is not a location you can enter. It is the very consciousness with which you are now perceiving these words. The outer court of separation was the dream, and the crucifixion is the awakening. The sound of the tearing veil is the sound of your own freedom. The shattering of the final illusion that you could ever be apart from the source of all life. This rebirth as the expression of a divine idea is the natural and inevitable fruit of this entire sacred process. It is not the improvement or the salvation of the old man, but the emergence of an entirely new creation. The personal, human sense of you, with its burdens and its biography, has been crucified, and the veil of separation has been torn. What remains cannot be accurately called a human being living a spiritual life. It is the very Spirit of God, the Christ, living as and through what the world perceives as an individual. You are no longer a mortal trying to become spiritual. You are the immortal spirit, consciously knowing itself as the only life there is. This is the resurrection, not of a body from a tomb, but of consciousness from the tomb of a personal sense. You are reborn, not of the will of the flesh, but of God as a living, breathing, functioning expression of a divine idea. A divine idea is not a thought you think. It is the active, intelligent presence of God individualizing itself as your being. Just as the idea of a rose is not a seed, but the entire principle and beauty of roseness that expresses itself uniquely in every single blossom, so too are you the individualization of the divine idea of sonship. Before the awakening, you lived as the seed, believing your identity was confined to the hard shell of your personal self, struggling to break through the soil. The crucifixion is the cracking of that shell, and the rebirth is the full flowering of the plant, which was the true identity of the seed all along. You are not a human being having occasional spiritual experiences. You are a spiritual being, the Christ, having a conscious human experience. Your life is no longer your own. It is the life of the Father made manifest, and your individual identity is the specific, irreplaceable flavor of that manifestation. You can observe this shift in the quality of your daily living. The old man was driven by desire and fear. It was a reactive entity. The reborn consciousness is animated by inspiration and grace. It is a receptive instrument. For instance, consider the act of work. Previously, you worked from a sense of personal ambition, lack, or the need to prove your worth. It was a burden, a means to an end. Now, work becomes a form of worship, a channel through which the infinite intelligence and creativity of the I Am express themselves. You find yourself guided to right action, connected to right people, and inspired with right ideas, not through strenuous mental effort, but through a quiet listening and a willingness to be the vehicle. The work is done through you, and the sense of personal doership dissolves into the joy of expression. This is equally true in relationships. The old man loved conditionally, seeking from others what it felt it lacked within itself. Love was a transaction fraught with expectation and the potential for betrayal. The reborn consciousness knows itself as love itself, whole and complete. Therefore, its relationships are not forgetting, but forgiving. It loves not because the other is worthy, but because love is its nature. It sees not the faults and failures of the human personality, but the obscured Christ in the other, and in doing so, it becomes the light that helps to awaken it. There is no longer a personal savior complex, but the impersonal activity of love, which heals and restores without any conscious effort or claim to credit. Even your challenges are met from this new state of being. Where the old man faced a health issue with fear and a sense of victimhood, the reborn consciousness abides in the truth of its incorruptible substance. It does not fight the disease as an external enemy, but rests in the conscious awareness of wholeness, allowing that vertical truth to dissolve the horizontal appearance. The same intelligence that formed the body knows how to harmonize it, and you, as that intelligence in expression, yield to its wisdom. Your very presence becomes a healing presence, not because you perform a ritual, but because you are the living embodiment of the divine idea of harmony and life. You walk through the world not as a visitor from another realm, but as that realm itself, making heaven visible right where hell seemed to be.